So after last week's episode, it was revealed that they cut the Wookiee Jedi's fight scene out of the show due to budget restrictions. $22.5 million per episode, and they still couldn't give us a Wookiee Jedi fight sequence. Money well spent. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So episode 5 of The Acolyte is essentially one long fight sequence with a few exposition dumps sprinkled throughout. And I know what you may be thinking. That doesn't sound half bad. There were rumors that this show would feature a lightsaber duel that would rival the iconic climax of The Phantom Menace.
You serious?
If this is what they were talking about, then I would have to respond and say you need a lot more George Lucas, you need a lot more John Williams, and you need a lot more Ray Park to even come close. But let's face it, The Acolyte, as well as the people who made it, are a lot better at telling us things are the way they are, rather than showing us. This episode begins with this Dark Force user absolutely wrecking all of the Jedi. We're talking Anakin Skywalker storming the Jedi Temple levels of efficiency. Now, he wasn't exactly consistent with his powers throughout the entire episode, but I guess that's to be expected. Once he eliminates most of the Jedi, it pretty much comes down to him versus Soul, at least momentarily. And Twitter's favorite Jedi, Gerard, is tasked with getting Osha to safety. The Dark Warrior taunts Soul. He insinuates that he knows him, and he hints at this deep dark secret that Soul is apparently hiding from Osha.
I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart.
Meanwhile, Padawan Jeki somehow subdues May, at least until the Dark Warrior shows up and then May runs away. This episode has a lot of people getting captured, only to escape, and in some instances get captured again just a few moments later. And this all happens within the course of a less than 30-minute episode. Anyway, somehow, Jeki also holds her own against this Dark Force user. The same person who was just cutting through Jedi like a hot knife through butter just a few moments earlier. Jeki even manages to knock off the Dark Warrior's helmet right before she is stabbed through the chest. I would say that this is an honorable end to Jeki's journey, but knowing Disney Star Wars, she's gonna pop up in a later episode like nothing happened.
Why won't you die?
Anyway, to the surprise of no one, the Dark Force user is revealed to be Discount Ezra Miller. And Ezra actually has a line of dialogue where he asks May, "You really didn't know it was me? My guy, everyone knew it was you." Also, Ezra refers to himself as a Sith, which pretty much blasts yet another giant-sized hole in established lore. But believe it or not, that's not the most head-scratching thing about this revelation. It's what happens next that is sure to incite some outrage on social media. After Soul asks him what he wants, Ezra replies, freedom. Freedom to wield his power the way that he likes. He no longer wants to answer to the Jedi. Now, one could argue that the general idea they are trying to convey here is consistent with Sith logic. But at the same time, the way that this idea is being presented here makes it come off like a not-so-subtle message that the Sith are somehow being oppressed by the Jedi.
Message!
Not because they are evil, but because they are different. If it sounds like 2024 ideology is once again creeping its way into Star Wars, that's because it probably is. What's weird to me is that the Sith already kind of have a reputation for operating outside of the realm of what Jedi find acceptable. So why is this guy taking the chance of exposing himself and his kind so he can publicly make the Jedi look bad, I guess? Oh, okay, I get it. He is a self-insert for a Lucasfilm employee. Now it makes sense. He does also mention that he now has to kill everyone to maintain this secrecy, claiming that he doesn't make the rules, the Jedi do. Once again insinuating that the Sith operate in the shadows, not because it's beneficial to their evil plans, but because the Jedi force them to operate in that manner. It's not even going out on a limb anymore when we say that Disney really does hate the Jedi, I think. Eventually, Discount Ezra Miller takes May hostage, but before he can kill her, Gerard shows back up again to save the day and gets his neck snapped for his troubles. And the Gerard horde on Twitter is probably bathing in their own tears as we speak. R.I.P. to the most forgettable Jedi ever put on film. After some lightsabers get damaged, Sol and Ezra engage in a little hand-to-hand combat. But Sol eventually regains his lightsaber, and he's about to kill Ezra, and Osha stops him, giving us a not-so-subtle glimpse into the idea that Sol might not be as honorable as he appears. Eventually, Ezra is carried off by flying creatures, and Sol is knocked out. So this gives May and Osha a chance to have a real heart-to-heart.
Why do you cry?
May flip-flops again and tells Osha that the Jedi got what they deserved. It should also be noted that May spent most of this episode resisting arrest, when she just said in the previous episode that her intentions were to give herself up. Anyway, Osha reminds May that she's a crazy bitch that started a fire that could have killed her, if not for the Jedi. And to this, May responds to her and says that the Jedi have brainwashed her. But that's okay because she's going to help her overcome that, and all that really matters is that they are together. Again insinuating that the Jedi had something to do with whatever happened on the night that Osha and May's family died. This eventually leads to May resisting arrest again. She then proceeds to knock Osha out, cut her hair with a lightsaber, and pretend to be Osha.
And you be you, but not in front of her.
And for some reason, Jedi Master Sol can't tell the difference. So it turns out that the twins having a similar hairstyle was actually a plot convenience that has now come into play. So by the end of the episode, the evil sister is with Sol and pretending to be something she's not, and the good sister is with Discount Ezra Miller, setting up the perfect scenario for these evil, dastardly Jedi to once again get exposed. I get it, Disney Star Wars is clearly trying to play with perspectives here. And it might have been a lot more interesting if they didn't show a complete lack of understanding of what Jedi and Sith actually represent. Shut up, incel. This was clearly the best episode yet. And you can clearly see why this is Leslie Headland's favorite episode of the series. I'm actually in a state of shock right now. I literally can't even. And yes, this duel was much better than the Phantom Menace duel. Gerard, you will be missed, Queen. Cut down in your prime. You deserve better. Hashtag Gerard Horde for life. Jesus H. Christ. One guy gets his neck snapped in a Star Wars episode, and these snowflakes think they just watched a scene from the Terrifier. 8 total Jedi on this planet, and not one of them sensed a Sith nearby. These are the absolute worst Jedi ever put on screen. I have more faith in a Twitch streamer not being a creep right now than I do the Jedi protecting the galaxy. The Jedi didn't oppress the Sith. The only thing being oppressed here is my manhood, because every time I watch this show, a little piece of me dies inside. Leslie Headland and Kathleen Kennedy have turned this franchise into a joke. Star Wars is dead, and these activists are literally pissing on its grave.
Y'all be cool. Right on.